the culture in you.
I remember I changed my. Have you ever changed your name?
My name?
Yeah, like or like wanted to and be like, oh, I'm gonna go by.
Uh-uh.
I remember I tried to. It was like 8th grade. I was like, I'm gonna go by Monica. Don't know why I chose that name, but I was like, I felt like Chelsea was always spelled weird. People always ask me how to say it, like what my name was. I don't know. I just was like, I wanted something so basic.
8th grade.
Now I'm appreciative, obviously, of how the spelling of my name, how different it is. But
That's funny. Where'd you hear Monica? Or you've always liked the name?
I don't know where I got Monica from. But I know that I was just like over having people ask me about my name.
Someone named Monica, you don't know what ethnicity they are. Like Chelsea, you don't know what ethnicity they are. Some names you
No,
do.
Chelsea, you assume that they're
What? I
white.
don't, because I know black Chelseas. I know you. I know Chelsea Warner.
I mean, yeah, but we're like a rare,
No,
like,
that's what I'm saying. I don't think of white when I think of Chelsea.
mm,
Yeah. So maybe it depends on your circle or who you know.
maybe. And I always hear like, oh, like Chelsea Clinton. I hate that. I don't know what it is. I think because I've heard it so much that now I hate it. I don't, like, oh, what's your name, Chelsea? Oh, is it Chelsea like Chelsea Clinton? Like,
Mm.
no, it's actually Chelsea like Chelsea Liver.
When you hear Tyrone, you think black.
Come on, man.
We got
Have you seen a white Tyrone?
yeah.
No, you have
in
not.
football, Coach Tyrone. We call him Coach Ty for short. He was a white, skinny dude, blue eyes, like raspy voice, and his name was Tyrone.
Mm,
Yeah, right. It's super interesting
damn.
how names. You do assume what the person might look like depending on the name, but then you could be totally wrong.
Do you think? Because we're talking about Tyrodes. Do you think that there are any white pimps out there? I've never seen any.
Yeah, I mean, are you talking about dressed up on the stroll
Yeah, I mean, like,
in the caddies?
goes to the player ball, like hangs out with Don Juan. Like, I don't know.
You might find one from Baton Rouge.
Why did you just say Baton Rouge?
It's probably where he's from,
Okay, I don't know.
or
I don't know.
Kentucky.
Kentucky. Where are you getting these names from?
Well, they're not from the East Coast or the West Coast. They're
Pimps.
the white pimps. Yeah, they're
Oh.
Midwest pimps. So I'm sure if you in the Midwest, yeah, they out there on the stroll.
Dang, I'm actually gonna Google and see what pops up, and I hope it's not like no Halloween pictures of like people dressed up as pimps, but like white pimp, or would you say South pimp?
Midwest pimp.
Midwest pimp. Oh, nope. See, these are all costumes.
The
These are
Midwest
all
pimp.
costumes.
Let me see. Oh, like of what you would imagine a pimp to wear. Oh, right.
When you
'cause there's
say
no
white
real-
pimp. Now, if I put a black pimp in here, let's
Uh-huh.
put black pimp in and see what happens.
Iceberg Slim's gonna come up.
Don Juan came up.
yeah.
Don Juan, and then they do like obviously costumes.
Yeah.
And the guy from Boondocks just came up. Cat Williams character. That name Slickback.
It doesn't even cross my mind.
Maybe not.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, I've never heard about a white pimp before, and I've seen a
But
lot
it's
of
not
stuff.
It's not far fetched.
But
though.
you see the balls. You know what I'm saying? The player balls or whatever. And I now that I think I've never seen a white guy in it. But we'll see.
They out there.
They're
If
out
you
there.
got Chet Hanks, they out there.
Whoa! I sent you a study maybe like a couple days ago, and it was about how they now think penguins are from another planet and could potentially be aliens. Did you read it?
Yeah, because they found this one element in their poop, in the penguin poop, and that element can only be found on this in space or somewhere else.
Yeah, in a different planet. I mean, where do you find that to be possible? That they could possibly be aliens?
I don't necessarily think that means penguins are aliens. It could mean that there is some element from that space that gets put into wherever they're eating. So whether it be something in the water, penguins eat fish, right? So whether they're eating a fish that's exposed to whatever element, or they're drinking the water that has that element in it, but I don't think the penguin is from space.
So you're saying they're just
If it was in their poop, it's something that they ate, right? Yeah. It's not like they dissected a penguin and was like, oh, his bone's made of uranium or vibranium, whatever it is.
That's interesting. But my first thought, because that was a deep thought actually that you went, because I was like, oh, I didn't even think about all that. But I was thinking, yeah, that's perfect. If I was an alien, I'd be the most isolated species on Earth. And I feel like penguins are definitely that. Like, they have their own world.
Well, if you went to another planet to live, what would be the purpose of even going there just to be alone?
No, who says they're alone? Like, they're just not monitored. I feel like you probably just can't see what they're doing. Like, they can do their alien things and then come back to being a penguin and like no one will notice because
Like shape shifting.
Shape shifting. Oh man, speaking of shape shifting, I was watching an interview with Jaquan. You remember?
Tipsy.
Everybody in the club can tips.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody. All right. He was saying, he was like, I promise you. He's like, I used to go on stage and look into the crowd and I would see shapeshifters. He was like, I would see people's face change. And he was like, I know nobody's gonna believe me. He's like, I know nobody's gonna believe me. But he was like, that shit. He was like, that's when I knew. He was like, this shit is like demonic.
But I don't know. I mean, that could be right. And let's not say he wasn't even under the influence of drugs or alcohol, but like, there's always lights flashing. You're moving. I mean, I don't know how much are you focused on someone's face to be like, oh, his face looked like that. Now it looks like this. When it's a stranger to you, so you really don't even know what their face really looked like.
They could have just moved places.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying,
right?
Like,
oh man, he looked like a whole different person. Like, it is a whole different person.
Yeah, you in a club, lights change, light turn on, you're like, you shapeshifted. You know what I'm saying? We think we've all been there.
I don't know. Have you ever met anybody in the club?
Like, what do you mean? Like, met someone and like hit it off?
Yeah, like I don't know if I've ever
I'm
been
not a club
willing.
goer. I've gone
when
maybe
you were,
3 times.
I'm saying when you were younger though.
No.
Like, oh, you still didn't. But I'm saying like I was never open into meeting anybody in the club. Like ever. Like please, and if you come up to me talking, then you already talked too much for me. Like I don't know. It's interesting though.
Yeah, and then for some people that was a gold mine.
Yeah,
the thing is, you got to spend a lot of money to find someone in the club. You got to if you're a dude, you got to usually pay to get in.
Oh.
If you didn't pay to get in, you got a table that costs money. And then you're buying drinks because the girl's like, oh, let's get some drinks. You got to liquor them up. Yeah, I mean, it's an expensive night.
Yeah. And I've never been. Oh, I remember one time, Sonny. I've never been the type to buy somebody a drink either at the club. But I remember one time I was at the club. This girl, she was trying to talk to me. Or no, she was actually, I kind of knew her already before. I was with my lady too at the time. And we're talking, blah, blah, blah. Oh, I can't believe you're here. Blah, 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 talking at the bar. And she goes, can you buy me a drink? I said, I'm sorry. I didn't know that this is how it went. I thought like I offered a drink. I was like, no, I'm not buying you a drink. She's like, are you serious? Like she really got mad. And then my girl had to come over and she was like, what's going on? You know what I'm saying? Like this girl's getting wild. And then she just walked away once my girl came. But it was like super interesting that you felt like entitled or like it was just weird.
Yeah, it is weird.
Like you came to the club for somebody to buy your drinks.
Some people are like ruthless like that. They're like, it's fine. If you say no, someone else say yeah.
And then I was like, well, she doesn't have a drink in her hand. She can't afford it. But why are you here? What are you going to do after? You can't even go to the Waffle House after. Well, there is no Waffle House, but Roscoe's.
Yeah, it's true. You can go, if you're a woman, you can probably show up. You probably don't even have to have your ID. You can probably show up to a club with nothing, no wallet, and have drinks and maybe end up getting dinner afterwards with not having a dime on you, being a woman.
That's interesting.
Yeah. But, right, that's if you're kind of at the helm of whoever you're with. Like, well, hey, man, I got you these drinks. I got you some steak. Well, now what?
No, there is no now what.
Can you call my Uber?
There's some Me Too in that.
Man.
But, yeah, you know what's interesting also, like, being on the perspective of, like, because you're talking about buying the woman drinks and taking her to dinner. It's like, I'm gay, right? Obviously. But I have to deal with that, too. Like, I feel like there's hetero norms that I have to follow when dating. It's the weirdest thing. Because it's like, sometimes I'm like, I'm a lady, like, bring me some motherfucking flowers.
Yeah.
Like, pay for my motherfucking valet.
Yeah.
Shoot, give me a dessert every now and then or something. It's just, like, so weird to me that I have to be like...
Well, how come? Why can't it be switched? Why can't the other person do that to you?
I don't know. But that's what I'm saying. I know I'm involved in, like, hetero norms, like, when I'm dating. It's like, what we gonna do? Stare at the check? You know, and, like, I'd be like, oh, I thought you were taking me out. Like, well, I don't know. It's interesting.
You fold into doing it.
There's no folding. It's, I'm courting you, right? Like...
Oh, well, that's the thing. If you say, hey, let's get dinner, it's on you. Of course.
But what if they're like, oh, we should get dinner sometime? What if they're like, oh, we should get dinner sometime? And you're like, oh, yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Like, it's never going to go anywhere. Because women are, feminine women are accustomed to a certain.
I was gonna say
situation.
right. I was like, you date feminine women, so like if that was since that's the case, then feminine women typically are like being or are courted.
Right.
Right. So I mean,
But
I
like at the
suppose.
same time, if we get down to the nitty gritty, we're both women,
You're both women.
and so therefore, it's like sometimes I'm like, or like after a certain amount of dates, I'm kind of like
Yeah.
turned off because like I'm paying for all this shit,
Yeah.
and like who knows?
Well, right. If they never offer to pay for anything, that's different. But if it's like, they're like, oh, hey, I got it. And you're like, nah, I got it. It's cool. If they offer to pay and you're like, okay, cool, right? I know that at some point they're willing to pay. But if it's every time they're sitting there silent when the bill comes, then that's different. They don't have any expectation to pay.
Yeah, true.
Well, what about two gay guys?
They
both
both
throw their
scrambling
wallet
for
at
the
the-
money.
they
They
both
both
throw
they
their-
both go like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, it's funny because I recently just went on a double date.
Mhm.
Right? It was me and my girl and my friend and his date,
Mhm.
and it was a guy. And they both, honestly, swear to God, fought over the check
Yeah.
about who's gonna pay. First of
Yeah.
all, like you both don't even have to pay for this whole table.
Yeah. But in my head, that's probably what I'd end up doing as well. If I say I went on a date, it was just me and like you and your girlfriend, just being just naturally, I probably like, it's fine, I got it.
But it's interesting because you said two guys, and I was like, I think they literally fight over the check every time because
Probably.
they both want to court each other. You know what I mean? Like literally one, like it was very interesting
Mhm.
because I was like, I can pay for my food. You know,
Yeah.
like I'm taking my lady out too, guys. Hey.
Right. Hey, yeah.
Hey,
I got money in my account too.
Yeah, and then what ended up happening is one paid for the check and then one paid for the tip because he was like, I have to do something.
Right.
It was like a whole 5-minute conversation.
For sure. Like, yeah, it's just a feeling you don't.
So
I
it's
guess a
hetero
male
norms
thing.
too then.
Huh?
It's hetero norms, right? Like they feel they should pay for the women and their date,
Yeah.
right? Where I'm like, somebody come pay for me. You know what I'm saying?
What about me?
What about me? You know what I'm saying? Buy
Yeah,
me some
it's-
flowers.
It's interesting. I mean, I don't know if it's part of the male biology to want to be like naturally provide or however that might be. You know what I mean?
But if because I don't naturally want to provide, but I do naturally want to provide, but I just want.
no, I'm sure everyone wants to naturally provide, right? But I think if we're talking,
2 men and
if
2
we're
women.
getting into like what's it called? Not basic
Heteronormity?
instincts. Not biological either. But I just think like innately, a dude is like, I got it. If I can, I got it. Yeah. That's what I think.
Yeah. I wonder
I
how
don't know.
wrong we are on some of this stuff.
Yeah, that's right. That's why we gotta get some people to write into us.
Yeah,
A
I
comment.
mean, we're trying to get guests on here. I mean, we get a lot of people that want to be guests on here.
Mm-hmm.
You know, everything takes time, and they gotta get to know us a little bit more.
How do you feel when someone's singing along to a song but they don't have the words right? So it's like every day I wish, and they like get a couple words wrong. Do you correct them like, hey, that ain't how it goes?
Well, there's no point.
Or do
The
you let
song
them
moved
keep
on
going?
already.
Does
Nah.
it do anything to you? Is it a pet peeve of yours when someone's trying to sing along and the words are wrong?
I laugh a lot of the time because I'm like, I know they know that they're getting this all wrong.
Because usually what happens is, like, say the weekend, like, hi for this, like, you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But what happens is, say they say like one of those words wrong, they think it's a different word, and
Right.
they realize like, oh shit, I said the wrong word.
Mhm.
Usually they stop singing a little bit. They're
Yeah,
like,
they'll go, "Oh."
and then fade out. And then so I was like, or do you just say, I'm still in it and I'm gonna keep singing, although I don't know the words.
When I get something wrong, I'll be like, oops. I'll
Mhm.
say it out loud because I know we all heard it.
Yeah.
I'll be like, oops, and then I'll recover. I'll come
Yeah.
back even louder and stronger, baby, with the words. I'm like, genius.
Yeah, that's funny. I was like singing and not knowing the lyrics, or singing and you just know like a part. So like they might just sing this one part and then get silent again.
Or like Ivy, when we were coming up and she used to pick us up everywhere, she used to blast the music. But like she would sing over the blasted music and it'd
Yeah.
always be wrong or like off. And I'd be like, this shit is crazy.
Yeah.
Like, but it was funny too because it's like that's my experience of Ivy driving. Like,
Mhm. Some people in their vibe.
yeah, she
Yeah.
be lit. I love that shit.
That's hilarious.
Oh, I was thinking about traditions, right? And I was like, what's a fond tradition, family tradition that you have? And I guess I'll start so you can think about it. No?
Go ahead.
Oh. But I was thinking about how we we used to wed each other up on our birthdays every
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
And like to the ultimate
Like, it was
extreme.
planned and
It
weeks. It was planned
was.
weeks in advance.
Oh my
Because it was
gosh.
over the. So yeah. So whoever's birthday it was, the family at some point would
Mhm.
end up wetting that person, like soaking them however they could,
Funny.
whether it be dumping them in a pool, dumping them with a bucket of water,
Funny.
however they could get them.
Funny.
And so yeah, it got to the point where, like,
It
it had to be
became.
planned out weeks or days in advance because each person knew their birthday was coming. So
Oh,
they're
yeah.
like either planning on not being home. Like one of my birthdays, I had to put tissue paper all in the room, the floor of my
Yeah.
bedroom, so that
Mhm.
just in case someone tried to get me when I was asleep, which y'all have done in the past, I could hear that crinkle.
Oh, shoot, I remember that day. And we had to hit you from all sides,
Yeah,
bro.
y'all got me because I had 2 ways to get in my room.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. And
You guys dropped me on my head that day, I think.
no, you fell, and we thought you had a concussion.
Maybe.
And
I thought you guys tried to like pick me up or take me somewhere, and you dropped me. No. I don't remember.
I mean,
remember
there's
slipping.
been so many years. I mean, you literally.
I was
Sonny.
concussed. I don't remember.
Yeah, exactly. You were pissed though, and you tried to tell us that we had to clean up your room. We were like, not happening. You know how this goes.
I was concussed.
Yeah, whatever. I remember when, this was like one of the first times it happened, and I don't even think we were in the valley yet. We were still in LA on Alvern, and you picked me up at like 3 in the morning or 4 in the morning out of my bed, and you put me in a cold ass tub,
I remember that.
and I was so asleep that I didn't even realize, and I probably just started crying, and I was like,
Nah,
had to be
you
like
started
15 or
crying.
16. I was pissed though.
Yeah, you were just like,
I was like, what's happening?
I'm drowning.
And I remember you picked me up, and for some reason I didn't find that odd, right? I was just like, okay, like I'm asleep.
Yeah.
And boy, I remember that I was like, it's never gonna end after this. I remember like, oh, it's vengeance, and I feel like
Yeah.
that was probably the first time that I was like, oh, this is it.
Let's see. Who was it that at Van Alden where? Because I remember I set up. Whose birthday was it? I remember I set up a camera on someone's car because everyone was coming.
Oh.
I think maybe it was Ivory's.
It was
birthday?
Gianna's, and she was coming back from school. She was coming from school. We had Anthony,
Okay.
and we were hiding behind cars and shit.
Yeah.
And when she walked down with her cupcakes, we came from like left, right, and front. And she was like, ah!
Yeah, man.
My
Yeah,
cupcakes.
those are fun.
Man.
Those are fun times.
Anthony,
It was a few years we did.
you remember
that.
we did Anthony's and we threw him in the pool, I think? We were like playing. We set up the GoPros at the pool in the back or whatever. And then we did something. I think we dumped water on him. Because we had the video of it. I feel like we dumped water on him. We didn't even push him in the pool.
Oh, okay. I'm sure then. I'm sure.
I mean,
I'm
we did-
sure.
we- I-
Everybody got.
Everybody.
Whether it was a water bottle, a cup of water, and like no one cared where you were. Like you can be in the middle of the living room and someone's gonna throw some water on you. Like we'll clean it up
Yo.
later.
Yeah, you could be in the most inappropriate place to throw water. And we were like,
Yeah.
nope, this is it.
Yeah,
We got to get it
Yeah.
while you can.
that's hilarious.
Yeah,
and
I
like
was
those
like,
days
man.
were anxiety like ridden, boy, because all day like like once if they didn't get. Once they got you, you're like, okay, fine, like
Yeah,
it's done,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
But they didn't get you yet, so you're just like, shit.
They play with water bottles, start squeezing water bottles around each other.
Yeah.
Like, and they be like, don't wet me today. I'm like, no, I'm not just
Yeah.
drinking.
And then low key, sometimes you forget.
Oh, yeah.
You just be caught up in the day, and then like,
That's when it happens, though.
Yes,
When
yeah.
your guard's down, you're watching TV, you forgot,
Yeah.
day's over,
Yeah.
birthday passed. That's when
I could be talking to you. If you and I have a face-to-face conversation,
Uh-huh.
and you could be looking at me dead in my
Dead.
eyes, and someone could be right behind me,
Mm-hmm.
and you set me up for that person.
Mm-hmm.
It was just like
Yeah.
ruthless about those, man.
Man, all those, yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy. So I was like, that was like one of the traditions that popped in my head. I was, Seeing
Yeah,
if
that
you-
was probably like our longest tradition we had.
man, until it just became like seriously unsafe, and like we're old now. Like we shouldn't be able to,
Yeah.
like we shouldn't fall. You know what I'm saying? Like
it was getting tough.
it was getting crazy.
It was getting tough. Was it before I moved out? I mean, like, did we
Like
stop?
right, the year you moved out was when we stopped.
Okay.
But we had been saying for 2 years that we were gonna stop. We were like, we're not doing it this year. We're not doing this year. And then it was
Everybody's like, yeah,
pew,
yeah,
pew,
yeah,
pew,
you're
pew.
right.
Yeah,
Man, no, those are good times.
for sure.
Most times, you remember the first time you did something. Like, you might not remember a lot, but the first time, I'm like, oh, remember the first time you. I mean, I remember the first. You don't remember the first time a lot of things?
Mm-mm. Not necessarily. I only remember
Oh.
the first time maybe I got high because it was like distinct. It's like a distinct out of like I don't know, out of sorts kind of feeling.
Oh man, I remember the first time. I don't know. I felt humiliated. I remember the first time I
Oh, okay.
drank.
Let's
I
tell
remember
that.
The first time.
What happened
lot
the
of
first
shit.
time you were humiliated?
Humiliated, embarrassed, humiliated. It was when it was the first day of junior high.
The Mesa?
And yeah, and I had like it was the first day, so I had my backpack full of like everything you didn't need. So colored pencils, pens, papers, notebooks, everything. And then so I was catching the public bus for the first time,
Uh-huh.
and so I was like, because the public bus took you to the school, but it
Mhm.
wasn't a yellow school bus.
Right.
And then so I was like rushing with some friends of mine because the bus was already there. So like,
Mhm.
oh, like hurry up, we gotta cross the street. We gotta cross the street. It's gonna leave us. It's the first day of school, so you don't want to get left. So it's like me, maybe 3 or 4 of the homies running across this like busy intersection. And as I'm running across the intersection, my backpack just explodes open.
What do you mean explodes
Don't
open?
know why. It like literally like
Backpacks don't explode open.
it was just open, and like all my pens, colored pencils, paper, notebooks, the rulers, everything went into this street. And it's like 8 a.m, so everyone's trying to rush to get to work. So the bus is about to leave. My buddies are like, a couple of them are trying to hold the bus. People are honking at me while I'm literally trying to clean my
They're
stuff out.
honking at a little black boy.
Yeah.
Well, we
Honk-
were in Santa Cruz.
Yeah, and so they were like honking at me. I'm like, yo, I'm going through it. I'm like, oh my, I'm just trying to get what I need. I'm like, I left half my stuff on the floor.
Are
'cause
you serious?
It all spread all through the street.
Boy.
And so I
you
was
be
like, oh
honking at
my
me.
god. So my buddy would stay back trying to help me,
Mhm.
but like we're just like, yo, we gotta go, right? The bus is like trying to leave, and so I just remember being like, yo, this is so embarrassing. Like between the cars and everyone on the bus being like, yo, what the hell?
Mhm.
And then later to top it off, there was this kid, and you remember Dwight? And this was out of nowhere. Like we're all out, like
Am I supposed to be beeping people's names out?
no, why?
No, I'm just making sure. But go ahead.
Oh, and so we're like at like brunch or lunch, and we could be in a class, but he sees me. He's like, "Yo, man, I'm like, what's up, Dwight?" He's like, "Hey, man." He's like, "I saw what happened earlier, man." He's like, "And I saw your mom, man." He's like, "Your mom saw it too." I'm like, "What?" I damn near broke down crying. Like, I don't know why that affected me. So he's like, "Yeah, man, I saw your mom. She saw you too." And I was like, "Huh?" He's like, "Yeah, it was crazy. It was messed up." And then like walked off. And to this day, I still don't know if she saw me in the middle of that street or
Nah,
not.
I believe it.
But I was just like, huh?
Wait, so what hurt you about that? The fact that she didn't get out and help, or what? Like, what was you?
I don't even know. He mentioned my mom, and I started crying. And I was just like, oh, well.
Did you really start crying?
I didn't cry, but I was like sad. I was like sad. Like I could, if he weren't there, I probably would have started crying.
Dude, damn.
I think I was like so overwhelmed and like upset from that morning. And then he was like, yeah, man, your mom. But the way he said it, it was like your mom saw you. And like he's like, she didn't even help you or something like that. And I was like, oh, okay.
But that's not our mom's character either, though.
Nah, it was just, I didn't want to hear it.
Like, no, I get it. But even if like she did see that happening, I think if anything, she would have been like, this is him growing up. Like he got to go through this.
Yeah.
Who's to say she might even went and picked up the rest of the shit.
Knowing her. But yeah, that was probably the first time I was like, that was embarrassing. I don't want to say humiliated. But yeah, I was pretty embarrassed.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You ever been embarrassed or humiliated?
Well, you didn't even answer the whole tradition thing, but
because I would say like that. I would say
it.
the birthday tradition is probably the one I would have said anyways.
Do you think you're gonna keep it going, or could you see yourself like ended up doing it again, like with your own family?
Not right now. I mean,
no, I'm not saying right now. I'm just saying like, could you see it possibly like you keeping that tradition going, but like in your own way?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Because it was fun.
Yeah.
It just started getting we tried the plans became a little too elaborate.
Yeah, it was becoming much. It was a whole thing.
Yeah,
but
it was a lot.
have I ever felt embarrassed? That's a good question. Obviously, right? We're human.
No, has anyone ever embarrassed you? Whether intentional or not intentional.
Embarrassed me. Let's see.
Like at a restaurant and they start wilding out, and you're like, oh damn.
No, that don't embarrass me. That's them. I'm thinking about View Park prep. I feel like everything that had to do with emotions happened there for me.
Mm-hmm.
I remember someone thought I cheated off of them
Mm-hmm.
because I got a B on my test. They sat next to me. They got a B. I said, whatever, I got a B. They like yelled at me in front of my friends. I mean, they were my friends, but like yelled at me in front of the group, like, you know, like that shit ain't cool. You shouldn't be a cheater. I worked hard and studied. And in my head, I'm like, first of all, I didn't cheat off of her.
Mm-hmm.
Second of all, like, you niggas think I'm that stupid that I couldn't get a B on my goddamn own. I remember I was just like embarrassed because it was like, that's how they feel.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, nobody was like sticking up for me. Like, oh no, like,
right.
you know what I mean? It's just like, oh shit, Yeah, I remember that changed a little bit for me. That changed like how I thought about school too. Like it actually made me want to do better. So it was like, what? Like all my friends got A's. Like I just didn't do good because I didn't care. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's when I started taking school seriously. Actually, I'm not even gonna lie. Yeah, I was like, let me just pay attention, cause like, and I stopped sitting next to my friends during class, and I stopped sitting next to people like my friends when I took tests.
Not related, but one thing I did notice, like when I got to college, that I started doing was like sitting in the front.
Oh, facts.
Yeah, like that's a big difference, sitting in the front, because you're more engaged with the teacher, and for whatever reason, like there's less of a buffer between the information and you.
Yeah, and I noticed you can't see everybody. Like everybody's not taking your attention. Like when someone's doing something.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I'm saying like when someone's doing something they shouldn't do, like just reaching in their backpack, it takes your attention. So if you're in the front, you don't see that.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, for me, actually, it was off that is I was more likely to raise my hand because if you're sitting in the back and you raise your hand, people turn around and look at you when you're answering your question. When I was in the front, I could raise my hand and I can't see anyone looking at me. I'm sure they were all looking at me, but I can't see anyone looking at me.
Makes sense.
Yeah, so I was less embarrassed or to ask a question.
Okay.
But I remember when I got to college, man, I was asking all the questions. Like everything I was doing in high school, I just like shed. And I was like, but the difference was I wanted to learn what I was being taught.
Right.
Yeah, and so that's the biggest difference right there.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I mean college was so different. It made me more vocal, and it made me not fear talking in public, cuz I think that was like a thing in high school. Is like you don't want to get picked to read. You know what I mean? It's like a thing that just kind of goes from elementary to high school. Like I don't want to get picked to read. I don't want to do a book report and do all this talking and stuff. But in college, like that's what you do every single week, damn near. Right. You're always in a group.
Always in a group.
You know, you're responsible for your own shit, and you always have to talk in a big room. You know, so that was a big thing for me.
Yeah.
'Cause I love to be, you know me, I love to be in the back, like the dark. Like I don't want nobody to talk to me, nothing. And so in those years, I really like transformed.
Yeah, I took a public speaking class in college, and I was like, I was dreading it, but I knew it would like make the difference. Like it would just, it's that thing you didn't want to do, but you know it would make you better. Right. So I did it, and loved it. Loved it.
Especially when everyone there is public speaking. Like
yeah, and like once you see people that are worse off than you. It helps you.
It's like seeing a kid get on a crazy roller coaster. You're like, I got this shit.
Yeah, man, because, like, I was like, okay, I'm okay. But, like, you know, some people, when they start talking, they don't know it until they start to, like, do public speaking. Their voice starts to crack. They're like, you know, like, and, like, you're just
feel
like,
their
whoa,
emotion
are you
in
about to
it.
cry? Yeah. All that. And so once I saw, and, like, everyone started saying, like, we had an count. Like, you know, how many times this person say, And so, like, you just start to pay attention, like, conversation and speech. But yeah, man, when you see people like struggling, you're like, well, I'm not that bad.
Yeah, like,
I feel bad. Right. I feel bad for this person.
Yeah,
right? So.
Exactly. I'm gonna fail for you.
Yeah, it was cool.
That's funny.
And I enjoyed it though, because we always had to write speeches. I don't remember all of them. The only one I remember is I had to write an engagement speech or a wedding speech. Whatever it's called, a wedding toast or something like that.
Yeah, for your best friend, right?
Yeah, and I was like, that was pretty cool. But I did some other speeches that I liked, and but what I can to this day, one speech or one presentation that I just killed, and I'm super proud of to this day, was like bio class or chem class. It was something like science class I had to take, but we had to do a presentation on. You had to do a presentation on the chemistry of, it was a chemistry class. You had to do a presentation on the chemistry of whatever you wanted. Just like the chemistry of something, like how something works, right? Molecular and all that. So I did a presentation on tattoos, how tattoo ink stays in your body, like how tattoos work.
Okay.
And I did a lot of research on that thing. And then once I got my research done, I did like a killer ass like presentation because I had my notes, my pictures. But I delivered it, and like the teacher was blown away. The students were like clapping for me in the end, and then they voted for who had the best like presentation or best project, and I won.
Damn.
But yeah, I just remember I went in there so confident, and I was so excited to actually give the information.
And you knew the information.
And I knew the information. And I knew it was information that no one knew. Like, who thinks about that? Like, how do tattoos stay on?
And I was gonna say, can you please
Oh,
put our
go
people
ahead.
on. Can we do the put you on segment about tattoos? Like, he said, I don't
I don't exactly remember. But like, there's several layers of your skin, right? I don't remember how many, but like, there's something called like phagocytes, where essentially they push whatever enters your skin, they push it out. And so when the ink needle keeps penetrating, you know how, have you seen it like in slow mo?
Yeah.
Yeah, like
It does it like 13 times.
Yeah, it does. And so what happens is, the reason the artist has to keep going over that same spot is because the first time he does it, those phagocytes push out that ink. And then so you do it again, you do it again, and I don't remember if it's like they recognize what it is so they don't push it out, or you just overload it so they can't push it out. But that's basically what happens, right? You go to this layer, you kind of trick these things into thinking that they're done pushing it out, and you just like repeat over it. And then that's the process. It's a little deeper than that, but yeah, I remember breaking it down, and it was cool. It was real cool because I had a class that was like full of kids that didn't give a shit about science. I was at art college. Oh yeah, I was in college, art college, and no one cared about science, right? So I was like, I gotta find something interesting, because I tell you, everything was just boring. Oh, this is how coffee works, and so it was just dope. It was just dope because there were a lot of people in my class with tattoos and shit. The teacher had tattoos.
I wonder. I don't even think tattoo artists know that.
Yeah.
What you're saying.
But because I remember researching it, because there was no definitive answer, meaning like you couldn't say how to a tattoo stain your body at the time. This is probably 10 years ago. Like there was no answer. It's like I had to like collect this little information and take this word, see what that meant, and then like tie it all back together.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was cool.
That's dope, man.
Yeah, it was cool.
Damn.
Yeah. Education, man.
Education.
Are you a fan of education?
Yeah, but only educating yourself on something that you want to be educated on.
Mm-hmm. But what about basic education for like kids, elementary school, junior high?
What's the question?
Are you a fan of education? But you just said you only feel like it's something that you want to learn.
Yeah, I'm a fan of learning. But when you speak of like the United States education, how they penetrate the young minds, I don't know if that's something I am enthusiastic about. No.
Yeah.
I don't think the information they provide is actually necessary. And I would love to know. I would love to know what the agenda is with what they're educating our kids on. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
easy.
What?
Well, I think it's to write his story.
Whose story?
The white man's story. The winner's story.
Okay.
I'm not saying it in any kind of way, but that's just reality. Because like,
you said his, so it was just funny.
His story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think that like they try to like whitewash, like they're trying to like not talk about slavery much, and they're trying to like tell you now they corrected it, Christopher Columbus. So I think that if history literally is like what they want you to believe happened.
Yeah.
Like, but when you do like research on outside of the school curriculum, you're like, well, I don't know, that doesn't match up with what this says.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
yeah, I feel like you're reteaching after. Like, I wish we didn't have to reteach ourselves after school. You know what
I remember
saying?
Gianna. This is like when she was in elementary school. So like I don't know, maybe 10 years, a while ago. But she was in a class where I remember she came to me and asked me about the report, where she had to do a report on how great George Bush was.
No way.
And I was like, huh? And it's to this day I still remember it. And I was like, it still irritates me, because I was like, what? Yeah, it was like not like do a report on George Bush.
Yeah, it was how great he was.
Yeah. I was like, huh. Still jacking
very
me
targeted.
Up. Yeah.
Mentality.
So, does curriculum change per school, per state, per county? Do you know?
No, I don't think it works like that. I think that
I know that's how they get their funding.
I think the accreditation part is like, as long as you talk about these 7 things,
that's
anything else. But that's what I'm saying.
You said accreditation.
Yeah, to be accredited, there's certain curriculum, right, that you have to implement in your school system. Yes, there are these 7 things that we ask for. As long as you have these 7 things, we don't give a fuck about the rest.
Right. But is it like you have these 7 things, we don't care how you teach them? Like you have to talk about this, but it's up to you how you talk about it, you think? Or you have to talk about it this way? Yeah, because
how are they going to even really be able to?
Well, everyone gets the same book.
Well, but the testing, right? Like, if you can't pass the SATs or whatever those standardized tests is, you weren't taught it. That's how they figure it out, right? Like, those tests that they have us do every year? We take like a whole week doing it. That's how they figure out if you were taught, right? Because that's a government test.
I don't know if that's how they figure out if you were taught, but that's how
if
they
you
figure out
don't
your
know
performance.
If everyone in the class doesn't know, George Bush. You weren't
Uh-huh.
taught George Bush. I'm
I see.
saying, and that's how I feel like that's how they keep track of what schools are doing what they're supposed to do.
Uh-huh.
Do you have high test scores, low test scores?
Uh-huh.
But your test scores are based on the information we're asking you about,
Yeah.
not necessarily are you teaching these kids, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I follow.
Yeah.
That was good.
I do have one last thing. So, okay, so I hope don't get mad at this whole thing.
Uh-oh.
Don't get mad at this whole thing. And honestly, we could like not go there, but we'll see.
Timestamp.
Timestamp, yeah. Whoop, okay.
Just
48.
kidding.
So recently I had company. All right? And we were all hanging out. We were all, Sunday, fun day, whatever. Great. You have a dog.
Yeah.
What kind of dog do you have?
She's a pit mix.
Okay. I felt uncomfortable with my guest meeting your dog. Right?
Okay.
Okay. And you got upset at me. Fully. Didn't talk to me for the rest of the day.
Mhm.
I want to understand now that we're both in calmer places. Specifically you. I want to understand what you felt was wrong about that on my end,
Mhm.
and maybe how I could have done it better so it didn't irritate you or upset you in such a way.
Mhm. Well, the way I look at it is, sure, just like a dog has a history. So, for you to put a preconceived notion in someone's mind about a dog or a person that they've never met, it's unfair for that dog or person when it comes time to having an interaction with that individual. So, because you felt uncomfortable, you're putting your feelings or emotions or how you feel in front of what could potentially happen. Like, that was a conversation that me and your guest could have had first, you know what I mean? But that didn't even get to take
What
place
conversation?
because about meeting the dog,
Okay.
right? Because I was like, I'd love her to meet her because whatever had happened with my dog in the past was never something that happened when I was around. Anytime something happened, I was never there.
Okay.
And I've told you before that my dog has met plenty of people. When I'm around, there's no issues.
Okay.
And then so for you not to give me that chance, it was frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
And then so again, I look at my dog as my child. So
Mhm.
for like someone to come and say, "Oh, I don't want to hang out with your kid because your kid's bad," you're just like, "Oh, okay." That's
So
how
that's what
that's
you
how
heard.
it feels.
You heard me say that. I mean, that's what you interpreted what I was doing.
Yeah,
or
you're like,
saying.
"Oh, his dog's dangerous. You don't meet her."
I didn't say that.
Right, but that's how it comes off.
Oh, okay. All right. So just to let you know, there was no preconceived anything. She didn't know anything about your dog at all. I've never said Coco bit anybody. I never said Coco did this or that or she's not friendly. I was like, nah, you don't need to. Like Coco's very active. She's fast. Everything happens fast with her. And it's like this is something new. Like you're introducing somebody new. It's like the liability.
Yeah, you see what I'm saying? You feel all this
but
uncomfortability.
my partner, right?
And the reason I even knew all this because I asked, I said, "You want to meet my dog?" She says, "Oh, I heard it can go either way." So I was like, "Oh, so you heard something already?"
Yeah, it can go either way. But I
Okay.
didn't say the dog is vicious. The dog can bite you. Your dog has a history, so I'm basing it off of that. Like, if a car has a history of breaking down because the tire gets flat on the left, then I'm gonna be like, okay, I'm gonna pay attention to the left tire
It's not
more
the same.
often.
Comparing a dog and a tire is not the same.
Okay, so but either way, okay, my partner, right? The liability was greater than than the pros, in my opinion, right? Like her meeting your dog is like cool. That's cool and everything. But like if it went left, it'd be way more dramatic than her meeting the dog.
Right, so you're forever going to have that in your head, so they'll never meet. That's
No,
what I'm
I didn't
getting
say
at.
I will forever have it in my head, but I know that Coco picks up on smell. So over time, she's gonna be like, "Oh, I smelled this before. I smelled this person before." Blah 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 blah. And like over time, it'll be whatever. But like, sometimes I guess I've never seen, right? I've never seen Coco interact with someone new, and it not be interesting, be a little bit more than.
Who?
Who have you ever seen me try to introduce her to and it go wrong?
But but that's what I'm saying. I guess I
you
haven't.
See her, yeah, you see workers around the house that she barks at like she's
But
supposed to.
that's my point. I just said I
Right.
haven't seen her.
So I'm saying you're taking that and like construing it to that's how she always is. She's a guard dog, so of course she's gonna bark when she needs to, and she's also a friendly ass dog who hangs out like a normal dog would. But you're not giving her the opportunity because you've seen her get pissed off at people.
Okay, I hear you. I hear you. I honestly hear you right now. I didn't give her a fair shake, is what you're saying. But I don't want that fair shake, I think, to happen with my company. Like, even when my other friend came over, and that's really when it all kind of started. I realized, like, you had a sensitive spot about your dog. When my other friend came over, and you wanted him to meet your dog, and you got irritated then. Remember that?
Yeah.
And, like, she wasn't acting like she was friendly at the time. You had him give her a treat, and, like, low-key, I mean, it wasn't the best experience.
So I don't know what what are you trying to what are you saying?
I'm just saying, like, I don't think you should get as mad as you do at me trying to keep someone safe. Not saying that your dog is like an evil dog and it's gonna bite. It's not that. It's just like the risk is there, and I wish you like didn't get so mad about it. I wish you just be like, I get it. I'm not disrespecting anybody. I'm not trying to disrespect you or the dog. I'm just trying to keep everybody safe. I'm just trying to keep all the liabilities low. That's it. That's it. I just don't want you to be mad at me about it. And I also don't want to be forced, like feel forced that next time she's around, she has to meet Coco.
No, you're like making things so much more difficult by her not meeting Coco. She can't come to the apartment. Coco can't come to me when I go to Tina's and she's there. It's just like an unnecessary gap. That's you, for whatever you have this fear that you're just projecting out.
And the fear comes from not seeing what I just said.
And as many times as I've told you, believe me, it's my dog. If I'm going to tell you she shouldn't be around this person, she won't be around this person. But if I tell you it's okay if she meets her, then you need to trust me when I say that.
Trust. Use that word. That's deep. That's deep. And I wish everybody could see your face right now because you're just mean. You're just not mean. You're mad as fuck. You know what I mean? You're irritated. You're irritated. Her eyes are squinting, guys. He's not smiling anymore. He's getting hot. He's about to sip his water. So he's about to bring Coco in. But that was the last thing I wanted to talk about. It, as per usual, it's been a wonderful episode. Episode 33, the Culture Menu Podcast with your favorite host, Chelsea, with my favorite co-host,
Lasani.
And you know what it is. Tippity tap, tap, tap in, baby.
Let me sing us out the episode.